Hello and welcome. My name is Shawn Williams. I'm the Associate Professor of Political Science here at Campbellsville University. And to those of you joining at home, we thank you for joining us in what is one of our 11 podcasts where we'll be doing interviews with candidates for office here in Central Kentucky, either in local races from the mayoral race all the way up to the State Senate, State House, and the State House Representatives, the U.S. House of Representatives. I have with me today one of the candidates. If you don't mind, for the viewers at home, introducing yourself.
The State Senator Max Wise, representing the 16th Senate District, which covers Taylor, Adair, Russell, Cumberland, Clinton, Wayne, and Macquarie counties.
Senator Wise, you're the incumbent for the office, Republican, I believe.
Republican, yes.
So why are you running for re-election?
I figure if you were going to get into politics and run for office, it's common to continue going into that field until the people say we're ready for a change. I think I've invested my time into going to Frankfort. I became a chairman in my first term of office, encouraged by my colleagues of the job that I'm doing, the constituents back here in the district that have gave me full support of what I'm doing in Frankfort. And I feel like if you're going to run for office, it's something not just to do one term and say, I'm going to go back home. I think if you're going to do it, be full into it. It's a lot of work, even though we consider ourselves part-time legislators. If you do it the right way, it is full-time work, but I've truly been supportive of my colleagues, not just in the Senate, but also constituents back home who've said, you're doing a great job, keep up the work that you're doing in Frankfort.
In addition to your service as senator, are there any other experiences that you think the viewers should know about that either influence how you do your job or maybe your decision making?
I also am an adjunct professor at the University of Kentucky. I teach classes at the Patterson School of Diplomacy, which are graduate school level classes. Being the chairman of education, it gives me a great feel to still be in the post-secondary climate by working in academia and then also with my role there in the state senate. Before I got into public service, I was a political science professor here at Campbellsville University. Unfortunately, after 1 year of service, I saw that it was taking my time away from the classroom to try and balance Frankfort life, interim life during committee meetings, and the life that a professor needs to be in the classroom with the students. So I had to give up my teaching at Campbellsville for the sake of doing my job in Frankfort. But at the University of Kentucky, they allowed me to teach as an adjunct professor, which still works well with my time and my schedule in Frankfort to do that. Before that, I was in the FBI, which was a time served for my country, and I felt like the leadership skills that I've learned from that job has also helped me being on the Veterans, Military, and Public Protection as well.
Now, obviously, in any election, there are some issues that always come up. One of those, economic climate, job creation. What are some of the things that you feel the state of Kentucky or the state legislature can do to improve job opportunities, to attract new businesses maybe from outside of the state?
One of the things I think we've done well, and I think right now if you look at Kentucky, unemployment is at a historic low. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, unemployment's a farce, and there's some truth to that. The thing we've got to do is fill the jobs that we have available. Right now in Kentucky, there's 135,000 jobs open today with 30,000 people applying for those jobs. So it's not the unemployment issue, it's the workforce production issue that we're facing in Kentucky. It's getting people to go out and seek that job and that opportunity. Some are not passing drug tests. Some are just saying, I simply don't want to go to work. Or they simply say, I only want to work so many hours a week, but I don't want to be full-time with that. We've got to change a mindset. We've got to change a culture with that. Do we need more jobs and opportunities? Yes. I'm not saying we don't. But we've also got some wonderful opportunities out there. We've got employers demanding workforce. We've got trained workers in this area. Many are having to drive away from this general vicinity to go to Toyota or to go to Danville or somewhere else. But we also have to work with our local elected officials, economic development, to see what can we do to bring that jobs and employment here to my Senate district. One of the things we've done, we've passed right-to-work legislation. That was the one thing I heard from every one of my county judges was pass right-to-work. The ability for a company to locate, to not have to make employees have to be forced to join a union. It's optional. They still can have those if they want to do so. I think that's truly been a game changer for Kentucky. If you look at the Amazon hubs that have happened in Kentucky, you look at Brady Industries in East Kentucky, you look at the new paper mill in Wickliffe, Kentucky, there's a lot of things happening in Kentucky right now when it gets into that climate. We've also got to do tax reform and more of a comprehensive base of tax reform. I think that also when you lower your you lower your state income tax, we want to be like Tennessee. You can't do that overnight. You eventually have to get there. Now, we took some baby steps last session with tax reform, but we've got to continue down that road. We're getting ourselves, our teeth knocked in by Indiana and Tennessee. Both of them are doing it well, but that's not overnight. They've done that for decades. They've got to where they are. Kentucky's right there where we need to continue going with that. But I think right now, in terms of the business climate in Kentucky, we're doing a really good job.
Many of the jobs that you mentioned are either in manufacturing or in wholesale fulfillment. Certainly the Taylor County, Campbellsville area, our economy is built on that. We hear a lot, though, from students who graduate from Campbellsville University or students who graduate from our local high schools that they would like to have something that they wouldn't have to move away for, but something that isn't necessarily just manufacturing. Do you think there are some policies that we could consider as a state to bring more of those high-tech, high-industry, high-business jobs to this region?
Completely agree. I think if you look at technology with coding and some opportunities such as that, right now as a state, we are basically offering students coming out of high school opportunities to go to college for free, work-ready scholarships, 2-year certificate programs. If you want to go and obtain a 2-year associate's degree or a certificate program, the state's going to cover the cost. It's at an unprecedented level right now. And those are in fields that I think can be along those areas in terms of coding and logistics and things such as that. Now, in terms of computer software engineering, design, yes, there's so many opportunities. I think when you look at cities and hubs like Boston or Seattle, those that have ports and those that have oceans and those that have the ability of planes coming in and out, Northern Kentucky is starting to be that for Kentucky, right there along the Cincinnati, Ohio, Northern Kentucky area. I think that's our next big hub in Kentucky. For here in the South Central region, we're landlocked somewhat. We don't have great infrastructure. We have to work with our federal government with that. We can't put interstates in ourselves. We can work on Heartland Parkways and we can do those types of things, which we're seeing traction. Right now from Madera to Taylor County line, we've seen the 2+1 lane. It's getting ready to open up at the bypass that's going to go in next year that's going to shoot around there over to connect to the Bluegrass Parkway. We're working with all the counties around here. And that's been 15 years in the making. People don't understand government doesn't build highways and roads overnight with the snap of a finger. We have to eventually get there. But it's having people like me that are at the table to help make those decisions and working with a Republican governor, a Republican House that can help on the road plan. For many years, we didn't have that access. We didn't have the right people in place because of party politics. And unfortunately, the road plan comes down to a lot of those things.
You had, a second ago, had drawn the distinction between employment and unemployment, the problem of having jobs available versus people who are willing to take them. You can't talk about the employment problem in Kentucky without talking about the opioid and drug problem in Kentucky. Do you think the state can be doing more, that the legislature can be doing more to address the opioid crisis?
Always, and it's an issue I've been happy to vote on since we've been up there. We've also done a needle exchange in Kentucky. I voted for that. But that also allows your local county government to have to pair up with your health department to offer a needle exchange program. We don't need to be blind to the opioid problem. There's many communities that say, that's not happening here, not in my backyard. It's happening here. It's happening everywhere. It's an epidemic crisis across the entire United States. Kentucky is probably one of the top states that's affected by it. We have to also work on correction reform. We've also got to work on abilities for those that have drug problems, that they're getting the right rehab, that we're getting assistance out there, to the different facilities. We're working on one right here that's going to have some good news coming soon in Taylor County. We've got the Hope Center, but there's some more good news Taylor County is going to see. Now, we don't always want to be just known for the area for rehab itself, but at the same time, we need to equip those, if they're going through rehab, to get the skills within themselves to go out and be productive back in the workforce. When you get into the drug issue, like you said, it's working also with our federal partners. I think we've just seen some news come out of the U.S. Senate and the U.S. House in terms of trying to give more money back to the states of what we can do with that. This is also a community problem. Churches have to be involved with it. Campbellsville universities, high schools, everyone, it's a team approach. We could continue to play whack-a-drug, whack-a-mole with legislation. They're going to find ways around it. We've done it the pill mill, we've done opioid, we've done heroin, fentanyl, carfentanil, you name it. What's next? We've got to stay on top of this, though, because it's killing our economy. You think about the money we have going out of Frankfort to carcerate and to medicate and to educate. Those three things. Incarceration is one of the biggest ones. Our prisons are overcrowding. A lot of it's because of the drug issue. And I'm not talking about marijuana and alcohol. I'm talking about high-level drugs that are happening. And we've got to look at private prisons. We've got to look at those type of things. So when people start asking, I wish we could fund this, I wish we could fund that, expansion of Medicaid, prison population, those two things, and then 50% to 55% of your budgets with education.
When we do start talking about solving some of these problems with local level officials, they keep coming back to the point, well, state level budget cuts are crimping our budgets, therefore we can't address these issues. Do you feel that the state needs to do more to address these problems, or do you think that this is more of a local government issue?
Well, if you look at what we did with the needle exchange program, we allowed local control with that. Some communities are simply not going to want to have needle exchange. Fayette County, Jefferson County, yes. But in my district, we're starting to see more smaller communities say, we want to help with that. Adair County, Russell County. Now Taylor County's not. They've looked at the issue. But we also don't want to have a political football game back and forth of I punt, you punt it back, and who's going to take the ball and go with it. I wish as the state right now we had additional revenue. We don't. We simply don't. We've got a pension crisis we're trying to fix. It got kicked down the road for so many years. It wasn't looked at. It wasn't funded well by those before me. But if you don't take care of those issues, we can't have additional revenue go to other issues. Tax reform, like again, we can maybe generate, they can get $10 to $15 million. We need a whole lot more than that of what we need to take. It's steps to get there. And I don't think a lot of times solving certain issues like legalizing recreational marijuana would be the answer. Sports betting and things such as that. Sometimes that's fool's gold. It's somebody's thinking that's the end-all, be-all, cure-all. There's a lot of things that we've got to go into place.
You talked about the revenue problem. Do you think that there is a place for looking for additional revenue? Is additional revenue available in the state of Kentucky?
I will say this. I'm on the Appropriations and Revenue Committee. We have scaled down the budget almost like a dog gnawing on a bone. There is nothing more left. I mean, we are scraping everything we can. And there's some critical things we don't want to see cut, education being one of those. As the chairman of the Senate Education Committee, one of the last things I want to see is us cutting budgets that go out to our school systems. We did a great job last year fully funding the pension. We did a great job making sure transportation costs were going to be paid for. Many districts were fearful their buses would have to be shut down. We made sure that money still is going towards those areas. Frisky programs, which is the Family Youth Resource Centers, which is huge for my area. After school lunch programs, morning breakfast programs, all these types of things that are there. Do I wish we had more revenue? Yes, but we're not the only state that's facing this. Many states are just like we are right now with looking at the revenue. Where are the areas we can get?
You've referred several times to the issue of pension reform. Certainly pension reform, broadly speaking, and education pensions specifically, were the most contentious issue in the most recent legislative session. Do you feel we should be doing more with pension reform? Do you think that the solution that's been put in place, first of all, will pass constitutional muster?
Right.
But do you feel that it is the best solution we can find?
We should have been doing more on pension reform up to this point. It should not have waited until 2017, 2018 to finally said, let's do something about the pension. I think there were many people, Republicans and some Democrats years ago, I'm talking 2005, 1990, saying, why are we not dealing with this issue now? It's easy to kick the can. That's one of the easy things politicians can do is, well, let's study that. Let's do a blue ribbon task force and study the issue. Or let's wait until the next governor. I will say the process for the pension bill that we did, the process was ugly. It was not good. The comments made by the governor, not good. But we are also trying to tackle an issue that for decades has just sipped and drained us financially. You eventually have to say, we're going to stop the bleeding. Do I think it's enough? I think we're fully funding the arc of what we're doing? Yes. I don't think there's a single teacher out there that does not think we have to have sustainability with the pension. They should be worried about it. If you're a retiree, if you're a current teacher or a future teacher, you want to make sure that what you've got in your retirement is going to be there when you get out of education. Same thing for other state employees. I don't know what the court's going to do. I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to even speculate on what do I think the state Supreme Court's going to do. But I hope that whatever's decided upon, if it's not enough, that we still look at the issue and say, are we going to fix the problem?
Most of the viewers who will be watching these podcasts will probably watch them in the few days or the couple of weeks prior to the November 6th election. Is there one issue, one characteristic that you think sets you apart, not just from your opponent in this race, but maybe from candidates in other races that the viewers at home need to know about?
One thing I'll say is that just what I hear from colleagues in Frankfort as well as constituents back home. Max Wise will listen to you. Max Wise will return a phone call from you. He'll return a message from you. He's not doing this for power. He's not doing this for money. I'm not drawing a pension with this. I'm in this to serve the general public. I will listen to anybody regardless of party. Sometimes we may have disagreements. More of the times we walk away from the table, somebody saying, you know what, it's a good guy right there. He at least listened to me. We're losing the ability of discourse in our country to communicate with all people. I will sit down and do that with anybody. And at the end of the day, I'm here to serve all people. I'm here to serve the 16th Senate District and do the best job that I possibly can. And that's being the listener. You know, I think by being in my first term to become a chairman after 2 years in the Education Committee speaks well that my leadership gave me that role. They passed it on. They said, we think you're ready for this. That's an important committee. I mean, I've got 4 children at home. We've got young people coming up and the generations behind them. We have to get education also right in Kentucky. That's the most important commodity is our assets, and that's our children. So I take my job very serious. And I know a lot of people think that we're only in session from January till April and then that's it. If you follow me and you see what I do, you'll notice that I am fully devoted to working for the people of this district.
Mr. Wise, I want to thank you very much for your time. And for those of you who are at home, as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, this is one of a series of podcasts that we're doing covering several candidacies and elections here in Central Kentucky. If you haven't already, I would encourage you to go and find the rest of those and take a look and educate yourself on the election. And please, on November 6th, go vote. Thank you very much.